Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
All right, it's a Thorsday here. Happy Thorsday to all who celebrate.
I feel odd here.
Sorry, I know. I
feel
this is what
odd.
happens when we
I'm
got
not
Dex.
used to being in the middle. I feel like.
We got executive producer
Hey.
Declan. He's in St. Louis covering for the Score North Twins show, the Twins opener. And when he's not, pushing the buttons and navigating the plane, sometimes it gets a little turbulent here. So you'll have to excuse me if I crash this podcast plane.
I'm good now. Off to the side. I prefer it here.
Thor, what's going on, man?
How you guys doing?
So you've got a mock draft out, a brand new mock that we're going to get to. We'll also do our own little mock draft simulation. We also have the first batch that we've seen anyways of 2025 NFL over-under win totals. So we'll tell you the first number out of the gate for the Vikings from betonline.ag after we shout out MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air, Judd.
Yep. So I told you a week ago on Friday, my furnace was sort of acting weird. It wasn't kicking on. Then it would occasionally. I made a call to MSP by Saturday morning. My house was freezing because my furnace was basically dead. Joe from MSP came out and in no time fixed it and did a fantastic job. Look, stuff like this is all about two things, in my opinion: trust and quality. And with MSP, you get both. They do great work. That they've done a bunch of work now for me and have been absolutely outstanding. And now also, as a bonus, Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores have proudly partnered with MSP for the Big Green Egg giveaway. Get $60 off any HVAC or plumbing repair, and you will be entered for a chance to win this. The Big Green Egg from Fratelloni's, a $1,000 value. So we're talking about two great family-owned and operated companies here. For service, call MSP at 651-615-4292 or check out their website, callmsp.com. Call MSP.com. Trust and quality is what you're going to get from MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
And don't forget here, with Thorsday upon us, it's a good reminder that we are just exactly a month away from night one of the 2025 NFL Draft and the 2025 Purple Daily Draft Party presented by Standard Heating and Air. You can get tickets at scorenorth.com/draft. We're back at the Fillmore in Minneapolis, Thursday, April 24th, 7 p.m. There's a VIP ticket level too, and we still have a few of those available where you get premium balcony seating, drink and food vouchers, a Purple Daily snapback hat, a pregame meet and greet with the show. So, thank you to Standard Heating and Air Conditioning, Two Men in a Junk Truck, Roku, and all the partners that help us put on this awesome live event, a celebration of your favorite football team, of you guys, the Purple Daily audience. So we're looking forward to it for the fourth consecutive year. So, okay, Thor, from betonline.ag, and there's going to be a bunch of these that come out in the next month or so. We've got the first Vikings over-under win total here. Last year, most sports books said 6.5, and we all looked at that and said, I mean, they might not win the Super Bowl, but 6.5 is free money. So how do you feel about 8.5?
It's 8.5?
8.5.
8.5.
I might go and take out a loan.
You're mashing the over.
Oh, easy. Are you kidding? Yeah, absolutely. 9 and 8 is an over. Oh yeah. Yeah. We're flying over the 8.5.
I'm with you on this.
Let me see what I'm just going through some of these other teams here. So, and they're all like alphabetical. I wish they stacked them in a different order, but the Ravens at the top, Ravens 11.5, Bills 11.5, Bengals 10.5 with that defense. It's kind of wild.
Quarterback.
Yeah.
It's
Lions. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Lions
based on
10.5, Chiefs 11.5.
This will be the last time, in my opinion, that you are given this opportunity with McCarthy. Like,
Yeah, this is not an 8-win roster. I mean, if you were guaranteed league average quarterback play, 8 wins would be a disaster for this team, right? With the defense personnel, that was a top 5 scoring defense last year, and then they just fixed a gaping hole in the middle of their defensive line. You got weapons. You upgraded your offensive line. You upgraded your defensive personnel. And if you could guarantee me, and this is where I know Thor will guarantee us league average quarterback play with his guy JJ McCarthy. If you could guarantee league average quarterback play, the over on 8.5 seems like a no-brainer, right?
That's light. Yeah, that's light. And it's just the market doesn't they don't have any context for McCarthy, right? And so they're just sort of putting like a zero spot there, or like wait and see. But yeah, it's like you said, the rest of the roster is Super Bowl contending. Average quarterback play in the NFL, you have a division title contender. It just is what it is.
Can I make my case for why I think that this is ridiculous? And look, this is all barring guys not being hurt, okay? But here's why I think that this is complete disrespect. I think that the Vikings are being disrespected. Okay, I understand the questions about McCarthy. He's young. He's coming off an injury. He's not played yet. I think this is a big time slap at Kevin O'Connell. I think this is I mean, he just took Sam Darnold from the junk pile and resurrected him to a 14-win season. Okay? So if we think McCarthy is, let's just say he's good. Let's just say he's young good. He throws some picks, but why? This to me is a slap at, like, if you had a defensive coach and a young quarterback, I might be like, oh, okay, I see the problem there. But you've got a guy who has proven for 3 years now that he can get the most out of almost any quarterback, and you're going to put the Vikings on 8.5? Kevin O'Connell, I think that this is a disrespect to you.
Yeah, I mean, 14-win team that you have greatly improved over the offseason. And to the point about the injuries, of course, like, you're projecting win totals. You can't predict in advance injuries that will occur, but the depth thing comes into play. Vikings have way better depth than they did last year too.
Good point.
Right. And so it's like you're protected, for a lot of the different things. And I know people talk about the QB2 thing. They will have a QB2. They're going to sign a QB2. They're waiting until post draft to sign their QB2. So that, it's going to be fine there. But yeah, a 14-win team where you added all the talent that you did speaks for itself, even with, some people not knowing JJ McCarthy's game. Last year, the Vikings got, it turns out, we didn't know this in advance, but a little bit lucky with their schedule. You look at the strength of the schedule after the fact back, the Vikings played a below average schedule. Ostensibly, it will be tougher this year. But man, how could it get hard enough where you would cleave off, what is that, 5.5, 6.5 wins from the 14 down to 8.5? And it, again, with the greatly improved roster, I think that there's value in the market on the Vikings over.
So a couple other things on this, and then we can move on. We got a bunch of stuff to talk to Thor about today. In the division, Lions 10.5, Packers 9.5, Bears also 8.5, along with the Vikings. I would still shove the under on the Bears. Like, people get so excited.
The Bears the same win total as the Vikings.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Thorsky, Colin Cowherd in his rankings the last 2 weeks ago put the Vikings he put the Vikings behind the Bears. He put the Vikings as the worst.
Your guy, by the way, Colin Cowherd.
I gave the good college try to trying to tell Colin what he was missing about JJ McCarthy in advance of the draft. Maybe I'm gonna have to hop on again. We'll have another JJ McCarthy talk.
I don't slander the Bears as much as Phil, but I think that is patently ridiculous.
The Bears don't deserve. Bears don't deserve.
Exactly.
Here for 30 years. Here's where I'm at with the Bears and their offense. Show me for a season, and then I will believe that you can score points and throw for 4,000 yards and play offense.
Even beyond that, let's go position by position. Where are there's very few that you would say, all right, the Bears are probably better at that one. That's
offensive line. Offense. They both upgraded offensive line.
Yeah,
I would take. Give me the Vikings. Give me the Vikings offensive line.
Yeah. I'll take Christian Darrisaw left tackle over Braxton Jones.
I mean, it's literally like the Bears might be stronger at left guard.
Yeah, they are. We'll give them left guard.
We'll give them left guard.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, it's not. But to put the Vikings and the Bears, what are we doing?
Offensive weapons, Vikings, right?
Easy.
Especially the Jordan Mason
Vikings
trade.
Among the
Not
best
even close.
Defensive personnel and scheme, not even a question. The Bears have a formidable defense. And then, so quarterback. I don't know that I'm ready to say that Caleb Williams is definitively. I know that McCarthy hasn't played yet, but are you ready to say that the turnover and sack machine of the NFL last year? Better head coach for him, system, and I get all those things.
But this again is a slight at O'Connell. So you're saying Ben Johnson, who we know nothing about as a coach, nothing about other than offensive background, is going to come in and be as good as O'Connell is 3 years in. And by the way, he's proven himself now.
For sure. Yeah. And this is even, we're just talking about like talent on paper. We're not even reflecting that Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams could be really bad fits for one another. And that's what my opinion is. But even if I'm wrong, I still think it's a joke of a win projection. But Caleb Williams' game, he's the wild stallion that loves to run around and extend the plays. He does not want to follow your script. He doesn't want to be like, okay, first read, and on the third step of your drop, that's where we're putting the foot in the dirt. It's right at the receiver break. And then Caleb Williams doesn't do that stuff, right? Like, so all the play calling acumen that Ben Johnson has and the watchmaker stuff with that, it's the wrong dude to do it with. Like, I'm very curious to see how those two guys end up sort of working together. I know Ben Johnson says he's going to make modifications to his system, and he's obviously a smart guy. And Caleb Williams is obviously a very talented quarterback. But it's a square and the round peg sort of a thing. So we'll have to see if they can shave some of the edges and try to shove that thing in there. Either way, the Bears roster isn't nearly as they're not in the same stratosphere. They're not on the same planet as the Vikings roster.
No. And just one more here as I'm combing through these. The Niners right now. Care to guess what the Niners are?
It's going to be too high.
10.5.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh, that is the easiest under of all time.
The Vikings definitively have a better roster than the 49ers right now. Like 2 years ago, totally different story. Maybe even at the beginning of last year, different story.
We'll put it this way: if salary cap was not a thing with NFL trades, right? And Kwesi called John Lynch and said, "I'll trade your roster, my roster for your roster." John Lynch would say, "Send it in so fast, so fast. Submit those papers." Yeah,
totally. So, all right. Well, so thanks to betonline.ag, I guess, for being the first ones out of the gate with these. I'm sure we'll see a flood of these.
And I'm sure I'll be visiting you very soon, BetOnline, after the conclusion of this show.
Time to get rich, boys. Time for us to get rich. Let's make some money.
So, hey, Thor, I feel like we've definitely exhausted from, and Judd and I did like 40 more minutes on the Kwesi. Kwesi answered a bunch of Aaron Rodgers questions yesterday. And we did plug for the audience. You can find it on the Purple Daily Apple and Spotify feeds, Minnesota Sports with Mackey and Judd podcast, and Score North YouTube channel. We did a big breakdown of that press conference. We don't need to do another breakdown on it. And we know where you stand on the J.J. McCarthy, Aaron Rodgers situation. I will say one thing and then a question for you. Judd and I lived through the Brett Favre flirtation for 2 years, and we leave the door open for that stuff more than maybe most people because we lived and covered that. But let's say in the absence of the Aaron Rodgers thing coming to fruition, who do you want to be QB2 behind J.J. McCarthy?
Flacco, probably at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you do it after the draft, so there's not an upsetting of the comp pick formula, right? You do it in like May or June or something.
Yeah, I think Tannehill would be fine. And by the way, Aaron Rodgers, if you're willing, I will be QB2. I will say that at the press conference, and I will sign the small 1-year contract. You're in consideration as well, and that's how he was in consideration. But that's something that he would have to agree to. We'll have to see that at the press conference. That's where that becomes in play, right? But outside of that, you can understand why Aaron might want to prefer to be the starter of the Steelers. So that's fine. But yeah, outside of that, the other two guys, totally fine backup options.
I feel like we are dismissing the potential here too, though, for the Jedi Knight that is O'Connell when it comes to quarterback development. Thor, do you have a quarterback or two who are out there possibly younger as backups who could be traded for? Because I feel like yes, Joe Flacco is safe. He's going to come in. He's going to be a good teammate. All important things. So I'm not objecting there. But it just feels like it'd be sort of unoriginal for this team that got Daniel Jones in the room, right, and tried to help him out. So is there a potential trade out there? It wouldn't be a huge trade, but for a guy that would come in, is a little bit younger, that O'Connell would like, and that could, instead of being because the one thing I'll say about McCarthy is I don't think he needs mentors. Like, he's got mentors. O'Connell's a mentor. McCown's a mentor. Like, there's plenty of there are probably right now too many quarterback chefs in the McCarthy room. So I don't think he needs another one. Do you have a guy or two guys that you think might be valuable to be the backup, but also benefit from the O'Connell experience?
Well, let me say first off, from the treetops, what I would do if I was the Vikings, knowing that I have a coach who has a superpower for fixing things that are broken that other people don't think can be fixed at this position, I would keep the third quarterback open for a reclamation project going forward. The thing of the primary backup, I probably wouldn't be trading for that guy to be the primary backup because we're looking to fix him. I don't know if we could play him next year, but the one that's been bandied about, and they're not going to trade him this offseason, so this wouldn't work for this offseason. But next offseason, absolutely, you might be able to get this guy for a late day 3 pick swap, Anthony Richardson, right? That's been brought up over and over again. If Anthony Richardson fails again this year, or heck, if he gets beat out by Daniel Jones in training camp, he's going to be available for very, very cheap. I would absolutely take him if you can get him on that cheap price, make him the QB3. You might even be able to get figure out sub-package stuff where you could, ostensibly use him a little bit initially. But yeah, like just have that be the, the Derek Zoolander school for, it'll be the Kevin O'Connell school for quarterbacks who don't read the field well and don't keep their lower body mechanics about them either. It's
the QB3 scholarship. You could every year you could just leave it open. Yeah. So if you had JJ McCarthy, and then like I'm actually kind of intrigued by the Tannehill thing too as a QB2. I know he sat out last year. I think he sat out last year because his ego had not yet come to terms with QB2, and he was looking for QB1 opportunities and just decided
the report right before we came on the air that Aaron Rodgers is considering sitting out this year. He is going through the same process of Mr. Tannehill.
Yeah, Adam Schefter went on ESPN Milwaukee and said that he's hearing Rodgers might not want to play, and I translate that to be, it's kind of like Brett Favre leveraged the threat of retirement to get to the Vikings, and in a different way. He leveraged it to get released by the Jets and then go to the Vikings. Rodgers got released by the Jets first, but if his choices are Steelers or retirement, he's going to leverage retirement until the very last minute to keep the Vikings' hope alive. I think just to put a bow on this conversation, what I think is happening is the Vikings have told J.J. McCarthy, rightfully so, hey, man, so starting in April, this is the first time for like the voluntary workouts start. It'll be the first time in 8 months that we get to see you around your teammates and see you bouncing around doing football things. And then mini camps, OTAs from May and June. If you go and show that you're healthy and that you're a great leader, like we've seen, and you can sling the ball around and you've got command of the playbook, it's all yours.
1,000%.
If there's any hiccup throughout April, May, and June, okay, now it opens the door for some other conversations.
Yeah.
Like that's where they're at this point. And it's up to Rodgers if he wants to wait that whole timeline out and root for JJ's demise in an OTA practice.
For sure. Yeah, and people are like, oh, why haven't they told JJ yet? Why haven't they told JJ? It's like the guy's never played an NFL. You guys are the biggest JJ Bobo out there, but the guy's never played an NFL snap. You don't, he's coming off a season-ending knee injury. Like, you don't, that's typically not the way things are done in the NFL. And you're going to sign the QB2 either way. Why do you have to declare it in advance? What? Because of JJ's feelings? Does it look when he was out in Mexico sinking those putts and slapping hands with Harrison Smith?
That was a QB1 level putt that we saw out there on
a big
social
hug
media too.
from Harry.
Incredible aura out there on the links of Mexico. But it's like, does that look like someone who's perturbed that they didn't go to him and, oh, Mr. McCarthy, you please accept the QB1 job before we've even gotten to voluntary OTAs. Get out of here.
As Kwesi said in the press conference yesterday, has anyone ever been told in a building you're QB1? Like, that's not how it works.
Not how it works.
A grand knighting of the court. Yes, we'll get on a knee and
you get the first team reps. The insinuation is you're QB1. If you struggle and now you're QB2, the depth chart has your name second behind the starter. So it's true. Like, we all expect, okay, just call him QB1. Go call him QB1. That's not how it works. Never worked that way.
It's not a coronation. There's not the purple smoke billowing out of US Bank Stadium when they tell JJ. Like that's not how it happens, you know. And JJ explicitly told, was it Kay Adams?
Kay Adams, yeah.
Yeah, that he didn't need to be told that, and he frankly didn't want to be told that. He wants to compete for the job. You know, when JJ went to Michigan, it was there are similarities to it where there was in that case there was two veterans on the depth chart. He immediately ejected one. Joe Milton transferred out right away when he signed, but they still had the established starter in Cade McNamara. As a true freshman, JJ was out there in sub packages, and then heading into the sophomore season, the whole Michigan fan base was like, we know JJ's better. Like name JJ the starter, please. And Harbaugh didn't do that. Jim Harbaugh, he had a very unique. Now this wouldn't work in the pros, but this is something you can do in college, particularly when you have the non-con schedule that Michigan had scheduled out. One of the first games of the 2022 season, it might have been Bowling Green and then Hawaii, or FCS opponent and then Hawaii or whatever. And Harbaugh said, the way we're going to do this, Cade's going to start the first game, JJ's going to start the second game, and then we will declare a starter in the third game. So everyone's like, okay, so JJ will be starting after the first game. And of course, that's what ended up happening. And he ejected out the guy who was the established starter. But there's always sort of trickiness. And I don't want to call it like politics, but like, in that case, Harbaugh, you don't want to lose control of the locker, or you don't want to lose the faction of the locker who buddies with Cade McNamara in advance of the season by not, allowing the competition or whatever. So that's how it ended up playing out. But yeah, the Vikings aren't doing anything wrong here. And I find, like, I bet in the building that they're laughing at some of this stuff, that the insinuations like otherwise, I think are funny too.
Yeah, I just want to shout Thor out for saying non-con as a shorthand version of non-conference.
Yeah.
I will be implementing that into my football vernacular too. So we're going to do some mockage here.
I want to mock.
Thor just told us at Matthew Berry's FantasyLife.com exactly who the Vikings are going to pick with the 24th pick.
I hope
so. We're gonna do that. Then we'll do our own quick mock simulation here. A shout out to Federated Mutual Insurance Company. Federated is all about helping you and your business stay focused on safety, preventing claims, and risk management. They help you grow your business through risk management, and they have all sorts of great history, over 100 years of helping businesses elevate, dating back to 1904 in Owatonna, Minnesota. But they also have tentacles in all 50 states in the United States of America. So if you're a business owner, go to federatedinsurance.com, check out the industries that they specialize in, and see how they can help you elevate your business through risk management. At Federated, it's our business to protect yours. Blackstack also is a partner of ours here on Purple Daily, and Blackstack has one of the coolest tap rooms you're going to find in the state of Minnesota, and some of the best craft beer, world-renowned craft beer at Blackstack Brewing. But we held our Purple Daily Unplugged event there a couple weeks ago to recap free agency, and the people that were there, some of them for the first time, saw just how cool this place is. It's the second largest tap room in the state of Minnesota. Extensive beer selection, also hard seltzer cocktails, boozy slushies. There's always something fun going on at Blackstack, and you can find their beer all across the state of Minnesota in liquor stores, and also available in the stadium during Vikings games. Blackstackbrewing.com to see what events they are hosting. And Judd, we got a big hockey event coming up here. Mr. Puck here, Judd Zolgad's going to tell you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. In fact, Puck fans like me, I've got and I'm not joking about this, a bucket list item that's going to be in our town for 10 days starting on December 26th at the XL Energy Center, and also 3M at Mariucci. This is the best annual tournament in hockey. It is the World Junior Championships. It is one of, in my opinion, the best tournaments in all of sports. It is a who's who of future pros and high draft picks. It's going to run December 26th of this coming year, or this year, through January 5th. But you can lock in your tickets now. Group play packages are on sale now. Go to worldjuniorsmn26.com. That's worldjuniorsmn26.com. These are 16-game packages for Group A or Group B, prelim games, as well as quarterfinals, semifinals, bronze, and the gold medal game. It is absolutely phenomenal hockey. I watch it every single year. It's not going to come back much, so get your tickets now. Again, the website, worldjuniorsmn bet26.com.
Boom.
Very excited about this.
Yeah, you might be able to get me to go to a World Juniors game.
I bet you could get JJ McCarthy to go to that.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet he goes.
I bet
If
he
possible.
goes. He's gonna have his Parise Shattuck jersey on too. I bet.
He looks so much like a kid that should play that should still play hockey.
The hockey flow, man. He's got the
flow. He's
big
got
time hockey hair.
The body.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the disposition. Like,
Yes.
yeah, you can take the boy out of hockey. You can't take hockey out of the boy.
Is he bow-legged too? Like, you get these hockey
Like
players.
Sidney Crosby. I've never seen a human being's legs. Like, I don't get it, man. Yeah, it's just like this.
So, okay, Thor, you have your latest mock draft up on fantasylife.com. I'm not going to spoil the whole thing. People can go read it. Clickety-click on Thor's mock draft. You can probably find a link on his Twitter account, ThorKU. You do have a couple quarterbacks going 1 and 2, and you got Travis Hunter of the Giants. But at the 24th overall pick, you've got the Minnesota Vikings on the clock and selecting Texas cornerback Jahdae Barron, who I feel like he's been like early in the mock season, he was a little higher up, and now you're seeing a lot of maybe trickling down Jahdae Barron into the 20s. But he would be a good young cornerback to throw in a room that is the defense is loaded, but the biggest questions are probably at cornerback right now, at least in the short term and long term. So why did you mock Jahdae Barron, cornerback Texas, to the Vikings at 24?
Yeah, this would be an absolutely perfect fit. And if he ends up filtering down the board here, I mean, like, coming into last season, he wasn't considered a first round pick because he was a nickel defender at that time. Then he played on the boundary, was just dominant this past season, but a movable guy, and we've talked about this before about how it was, there's very few examples that you can point back to last decade of college football where a premier program, in this case, a contender for the college national championship, they have a guy who is a dominant boundary CB1. That's what Barron was last year, who they used as a defensive chess piece. Situationally, when it called for it, when it was more advantageous for them generally to take away a matchup that the opponent had, they'd move them back to nickel, right? If the opponent had an awesome slot receiver, Jahdae was going to be playing more in the slot during that game. They would also move him back to center field safety when it was more advantageous for them. You can also put him in the box as an extra linebacker and dime if you want, right? So you can move this kid all over the place. This kid is Brian Flores' wet dream. This is what Brian Flores fetishizes about at the cornerback position. It's not only a guy who has all the instincts in the world, a guy who in the zone system, he loves playing forward so he can read the quarterback's eyes, but the instincts are incredible on this kid. And then he's got the really quick trigger. So it's like he sees things a little bit before they happen. And then the downhill trigger, he gets involved at the catch point quite a bit because of this, or, chops out the legs from the receiver immediately, etc. But to have that position versatility that he does, it's not a thing of like, oh, we're protected from injury necessarily, although, you theoretically would be. It's the in-game thing. Flores loves having, oh, you're going to do this role on this play because we're going to send this guy from a weird angle. You're going to have to flood back into his thing, and you're going to have to cover this spot in the zone, like whatever. This sort of a thing. We know Jahdae Barron can play from anywhere on the alignment back there. So it's a really, really good fit. And if he ends up getting down here, I would expect the Vikings to turn in the card with his name on it. Will Jahdae Barron, though, have a late rise like Devin Witherspoon did a couple years ago? Those two guys are the pointing Spider-Man gif. And Devin Witherspoon, he ended up going in the top 5 to the Seahawks in that class. But it was a guy who in the process, he would get nitpicked up. Well, he's a little bit on the smaller side, and he's more of a zone guy than the man-to-man, and is measurable. Like he was getting nitpicked about all this random stuff. But then at the end of the day, it's like, this dude's the best player at that position. And you can do all sorts of stuff with him and a feisty tone setter. That's what Jahdae Barron is.
So base D, opening day of training camp, you've taken him. In the base, is it Byron Murphy Jr. and Jahdae Barron on the boundaries? And then when you go to nickel, Murphy moves inside? Like what's the vision here for Jahdae Barron as a rookie, trying to learn a system too, in which he'll become more comfortable, but you probably want to maximize his excellence at certain positions initially. What's the vision?
So both those guys being interchangeable, I think it's perfect because you could do it either way. For me, I would start Barron on the boundary. I probably have Murphy predominantly nickel, but as we know, it's interchangeable in that system, right? You're going to take snaps on both.
Yes.
And those guys can be interchangeable. But I think you asked about base. If you got the three corners out there, I'm probably, like I said, starting Barron day one, boundary, Murphy in the slot, and then we'll, figure it out.
Okay.
Oh, I love this, man. We got a month of
some good stuff.
Deep dive draft speculation here. We got about 10 minutes left here, boys. I'm going to pop this up on the screen.
Let's do it.
The PFF mock draft simulator. We're going to select 7 rounds. I think we'll just go with the normal settings here. But for the YouTube audience, you can see this. For the audio audience, we will guide you through our weekly mock draft simulation. And let's see. I'm going to enter the draft here. Let's go turbo and just get to the 24th pick and then see from there what the trade offers are. Are you guys ready?
Done. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Right, so here we go, boys. We'll see what the Titans do. Turbo. So, Titans take Cam Ward. Browns take Shadur Sanders. Giants going with the big boy up front on defense, Mason Graham. Wow, him and Dexter Lawrence going to do some damage there.
Wow, and then Genty at 4.
For the Patriots adding a weapon.
Wow. Genty is going way up in these mocks.
Man. Did you see his like shirtless pro day the other day too?
Yeah.
I want to keep him out of Chicago.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't want him in that. That would be a problem in my opinion.
We don't care where he goes. It's just not Chicago. You
Correct.
go anywhere. Yeah. That's
Travis Hunter falling to 8 to the Panthers here. Jahdae Barron actually snagged at 11 by the 49ers in this iteration.
It's a good pick by them.
So, all right, let's we're on the clock here at 24.
Right.
I'll give you a look here at this is the big board. You can call out some of these names as you see them, Thor.
We're interested in Nolan.
Mm-hmm.
Walter Nolan, interior, Ole Miss.
Loveland is sneaky. I don't know if they do it because you have some skill set overlap with TJ Hawkinson, and even in the 12 personnel, then Hawkinson you're gonna have to kick into the inline, and now Loveland sort of taking your receiving thing, but JJ McCarthy works real well with Colson Loveland, and I do believe at some point the Vikings will take a tight end. I don't think it's gonna be with their first pick, but he would be the one guy to like just store it in the back of your mind. Because, JJ loved throwing to him 2023, the national title team. And it's the kind of player that Kevin O'Connell likes, the kind of weapon.
And your red zone offense needs a boost. So if you had another reliable pair of hands there in the red zone. Gray Zabel still sitting here. Derek Harmon, who did a visit.
Zabel and Harmon, both of great interest.
Yes.
Probably right now, I would probably be leaning Zabel right here, but we have options right now.
I think it's important to point out, too, that although the Vikings address this really well in the free agency period, I certainly, when it comes to interior D-line and more specifically interior O-line, I do not think that your problems are solved. Like, you got veterans who should step in and contribute, but they've all dealt with injuries in recent years. And more importantly, like that to me does not take away the probability or importance that you solidify those spots. Yeah. So like, in my opinion, you shouldn't think, well, I mean, look at who they signed. Okay, that's great, but they're not second contract guys for the most part. They're veteran guys who have been hurt. So like, what do you do if they get hurt or are not as productive as you think?
For sure.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. So we got the Lions. I'm curious.
Here's the trades, by the way. So the Lions at 28 are calling.
Yeah.
And then the Jaguars at 36, the Raiders at 37, the Jets at 42. And then there's 2 teams in the 50s, but screw those teams.
I might be between Zabel and a trade down.
Okay.
That's probably where because Zabel, you're taking over left guard immediately. Now the Vikings have built their Colossus offensive line, and then he can play all 5 positions. So, let's say knock on wood, if Brian O'Neill, for instance, had an injury next season, and it's like, one of those where it's like, he's going to be out 2 to 3 weeks, right? You could do, if you wanted to, you could really easily kick Gray Zabel to right tackle for 2 to 3 weeks, and now Mr. Brendel, you get to start again for 2 or 3 weeks or whatever. right?
I think there's a chance that Zabel might still be there in 4 picks, and we could move back with the Lions picks. We move back 4 spots, and it looks like we could pick up the 102 and the 130 by doing it.
Okay, should we rewrite history and win a trade with Brad Holmes?
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's offer it up here.
Can't be afraid.
Trade's been accepted. So let's resume the draft
Give us
here.
Greg.
And he went to Sean McVay at 26, classic. And then Booker went to.
Okay.
Phil's out. Phil's fired.
Am I fired now? We do have one trade offer here as we sit with the 28th pick. It's the Raiders at 37.
Phil, real quick, the interior defensive line, did any of those guys drop down?
So Booker went and Zabel went.
Harmon's still out
and then
there.
I'm sorry. And then Walter Nolan.
Detroit took him with
all
our
of our
pick.
guys
Oh,
got
no.
snagged.
Brad Holmes.
That's okay. We and Loveland's still here. I for me, this would be Derek Harmon here.
Okay. The interior pass rusher, interior defensive lineman from Oregon here. Come on down. Derek Harmon.
This is your
Viking.
technically your backup, but at all 3 interior defensive line positions, and will be a heavily used rotational guy immediately. Who then obviously, if there was an injury, but that system you're using 6 interior defensive linemen per game, and Harmon is going to soak up a lot of those rotational snaps at all 3 spots.
Waves of players, yeah.
Waves.
So, okay, we've got we're back on the clock here. We've got the 97 and the 102 coming up, and we got about 6 minutes left because I got Kyle Teige for a flagrant howls coming up, so we can be efficient with our time. But I think interior offensive line, wide receiver, tight end, running back still in play here. Secondary, obviously, cornerback is going to be. Here's some of the players that are on the board. A couple of safeties. Your guy Devin Neal, running back from Kansas.
I think I would like to select the fella at the top of the board.
Ratledge?
My buddy from Tom's Watch Bar in Indianapolis, Tate Ratledge. And Tate Ratledge, all right, let's look at Tate Ratledge. Almost 6'5". It was 308 pounds at the combine. He plays a little bit heavier than that. 9.96 RAS. Woo. This guy is a tremendous athlete. 4.97 40, fabulous for the position. 1.72 10-yard split, fabulous for the position. 7.38 3 cone, fabulous for the position. Broad jump over 9, fabulous for the position. This kid is a really, really good athlete, and because we missed on Zabel initially, Ralledge is going to come in and be your backup there on the interior, and a guy who will likely develop into a long-term starter.
Love it. So we grabbed him. Your guy Deion Walker just went to the to Kentucky at 100 there, but we already got Derek Harmon. So, okay, we're back on the clock. Last pick in the 3rd round here, the 102. Here's what the board looks like visually. The old big board.
I was talking about the tight end so much. Fannin, we haven't taken him in many. Fannin destroyed every single season FBS tight end receiving record that was on the books last season. He's an unorthodox player. He's a little bit smaller. Certainly not an inline guy.
Wait,
right?
He had a tight end. He had 117 catches for 1,500 yards.
Yes, and do they have the game logs on there, Phil? Like where they show the because the
Penn his PFF grades.
They played Penn State and Texas A&M. So you might be like, oh, the kid's from Bowling Green. Who cares? He ripped up Penn State and Texas A&M as well. He is a very, very good ball advancer. I mean, you could think of him as like a discounted Brock Bowers. It's sort of the same physical package, and it's the same thing if you just shift them around. You try to get them into mismatches. You shuttle them the ball short, and they're great running with the ball after the catch. Fannin can also make plays down the field, but yeah, he's a guy that the Vikings could be attracted to. As sort of that piece coming out the bench. You have Hawkinson, but
let's take him, dude.
This is
fun. It's a new name.
Done.
It's a lot of fun. All right, so we got 3 picks left: the 130, the 139, and then the 187. Here's what the board looks like right now.
Yep.
Cornerback Noel Williams there from Cal. I would say cornerback, running back, wide receiver, all in play. Whoops, linebacker.
I think with this one, I would like to take Torrey Horton. I like Torrey Horton's game quite a bit from Colorado State.
Oh, there's your receiver, Judd. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, Torrey Horton's been lost in the shuffle a little bit, but I think that guy could be a long-term starting slot. He's a good athlete who is crazy productive in college. I like the way he runs routes. I like his release package. You're not getting him off the line. Reliable hands, runs the full route tree. Like there's not like the sex appeal with him as with some of the other guys up there, but this is a guy in a down receiver class who could, at the end of the day, you look back in 20 years, could end up being one of the top receivers from this class. We're not going to get we're not going to get like the Hall of Fame careers at the receiver position here, but this is a guy I know is going to carve out a long, productive career.
Love that. Now we're back on the clock at 1:39 here.
Okay.
Give you a scan.
Which positions have we not hit yet?
Running back, cornerback, linebacker. I can throw those up on the board.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Running back, cornerback.
Feels like a really good place to take a running back with the
safety.
Depth of the class.
Yeah, it's just so deep. Like,
right.
Oh, my boy Billy Bowman.
Billy Bowman.
It's gonna be hard to
That's
turn
such
down
a football name. Billy Bowman Jr.
All right, let's just ring up Billy Bowman. I can't turn down Billy Bowman.
That is
Oklahoma.
such a great
Oklahoma.
name.
And it's a kid who plays center field, but I have a supposition that he might be better as a nickel defender. But you can play him, figure it out.
More versatility, Thor.
And then we're just looking for one more here with the 187 to round out our draft.
Ring up his teammate. I love Danny Stutzman's game. We're going
Danny
Sooners.
Stutzman,
We're going
linebacker.
Sooners back to back. Danny Stutzman's a great athlete who was fabulous on the field in college.
Okay, we've been waiting for our first A grade here with these.
Oh, that was all the picks. I forgot to take my running back. I thought
we forgot to take
that's
okay.
That's okay. We got Jordan Mason. Yeah. We're fine. There's probably gonna be some UDFAs we can.
UDFA will be great. UDFA class for that.
All right, let's see.
So okay, it's an A- for Harmon, an A for Ratledge. Oh no, it's a couple of C
we're getting
pluses.
dinged.
That's
We're
a B
getting
plus.
We're getting dinged.
I don't know. We deserved at least an A- for that one.
So the trade back didn't work.
No, it's okay.
Yeah,
I think maybe we're smarter than the PFF algorithm here. But hey, he's Thor Nystrom from Matthew Berry's Fantasy Life.
Great stuff.
.com. You can follow him at ThorKU on Twitter /X. Happy Thorsday. Great stuff, Thor. Thanks for coming on again, man.
Appreciate it, guys.
See you, Thorsky.
All right, dudes. This is Purple Daily. We didn't crash the podcast plane. Look at that. Look at us here. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
And they will.
Darn right.